the future of accounting. So thank you very much everyone again for all of your time and this special virtual discussion. We will make this discussion very interactive. So that's why we will use the chat feature, and I would request all the students to write down your question at any time. And please turn off your camera and please turn off your microphone. But definitely, we will try to make the question answer sessions interactive through using the chat options. We might have some technical difficulty, but we will try to understand the situation. Hope it will be great. So today here we have this session and we have very interesting topics to discuss. So you see these topics that will mainly will give us some idea what will be the future landscape of accounting. And we have four different discussion topics today. So first topic we will focus on technology and analytics and its impact on future accounting. Second discussion will be on a very timely topic, which is the impacts of COVID-19 on CPA firms. And then later we will discuss what will be the upcoming changes in our CPA exam. And we have some speakers who are our MSA alumni who will mainly focus on what will be your exam taking planning and exam taking strategy. So I'm not sure actually if Barbara is here. Let me check. It shows Barbara. So at this stage, yes, I would request Professor Barbara Tarasovi.
Sorry. I don't know. Sorry, I lost connection there for a second.
Yeah. No.
So you guys can hear me now, right?
Right. We can hear you, Barbara.
Okay. Okay. So first of all,
yeah, convey some welcome remarks.
Yes. Sorry about that technical glitch there. First, let me say congratulations to all of you and welcome. You chose correctly. I started this program about 6 years ago because I really wanted to encourage students to become CPAs. I came back to SHU after years in industry and I saw what a difference and what credibility you get by saying you're a CPA. So I truly believe in it. I know it helped me in my career and I know it will help all of you guys. We will help you succeed here. We have Mr. Greg Cousin, who's going to talk about the Becker program. We have our distinguished faculty here, Professor Malik, who's the program director, Professor Panise. We have Professor Fay here, and also our distinguished visitor, Mr. Sutherland. Happy to have him here. And so I'm excited that you're all here today. I think you guys are going to help shape the profession. It's a very exciting time to do that, given the environment that we're in. So I just want to welcome you and say that we're here to help you, and we're glad that you're here today. So I will turn it over to Professor Malik.
Thank you very much, Barbara, for your warm welcome. And now at this stage, I feel privileged to introduce today's panelists. So we have panelists, we have partners from big four firms, we have senior accountants from our different accounting firms, CPA representatives from Baker CPA, Sacred Heart University faculty. So first, I would like to introduce here our panelist, Steve Fay. Steve Fay is a recently retired senior partner of Deloitte. Steve served in a number of roles at Deloitte, such as client service, audit leadership, and risk management. He started his work with Boston office and later he served in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Philadelphia, and Massachusetts. Then we are honored to have our second speaker today, and our second speaker is Daniel Sunderland. Daniel is a senior partner with Deloitte. He recently completed a 5-year term as Deloitte's chief auditor and in its national leader audit and assurance services. Dan also served as a leader in developing and executing a transformative strategy for Deloitte's global audit practice by incorporating emerging and innovative technologies. Thank you, Dan, for your time today. We also have Angelo Lombardo. Angelo is working with Bloom Shapiro as a senior accountant, and Angelo is one of our Sacred Heart University alum. He earned his bachelor degree in accounting in 2015 and his master's in accounting in 2016. Then I'm glad to introduce Paige Devine. Paige is an audit senior at Deloitte. She is also a Sacred Heart alum and earned his master's in accounting in 2017. Our next speaker is Timothy Kelly. Tim is currently working as an assurance associate at PwC. Tim obtained his master's degree from Sacred Heart last year. So I would say Tim is one of our newest MSA alumni. Thank you very much, Tim, for your time today. Then we have Greg Cushion from Baker Professional. And Greg has been working with us for last several years and a great partner to facilitate our students with CPA prep materials. Thank you, Greg. And we also have Professor Danny Pennis. So Danny is one of us. And all of you know Professor Pennis, and you took Professor Pennis's tax class. He is the most senior professor in our department. We also have Paul Rightclick from Grad Admission Office. So at any stage, if you have any question, you definitely can use the chat feature and write down your question. And if you would like to address any specific question to a specific speaker, you could also do so. So now we will not waste any more time. So let's start the discussion. And I will stop sharing my slides. Rather, I will take you to the speakers and so that we can see our speakers. So our first discussion topic is technology, analytics, and accounting. And my first question is to Dan Sunderland. Dan, you actually worked with Deloitte and you developed a strategy to incorporate emerging technology for Deloitte. So would you please share with us how this technology and analytics are changing the landscape of accounting? Dan, would you please unmute your microphone?
Got it. Thank you. We're always slow in doing these things. Thanks so much for having me, and welcome to everybody. You're embarking on a wonderful career. Um, there really is right now a fundamental change in the way we execute our audits. It really is not applying a peanut butter cookbook approach to audits, but risk assessing what risks exist in the financial statements and figuring out how to address those in the most effective fashion. We always sort of summarize it as making sure we spend a lot of time with things that are really important and not as much time with things that aren't that important. We also try and differentiate between risks that are commonplace and those risks that are not commonplace. So when you think about doing an audit, you use analytics, big data that exists out there, to understand what a population is made of so you can focus your procedures on things that are most important. You also know that there's certain things in an audit that occur that are very simple to do and you can perform very rote steps on. And then there are those things that are very difficult where you have to design your own procedures and think about things a great deal. So in order to do things, you try and develop a strategy that utilizes data a great deal and utilizes people thinking through things again and again, using their heads and applying these tools along the way. So it's very important that we wrap all these things together.
Yeah, that's great to know then. So what was your experience when you were developing the strategy for Deloitte and what type of technologies you were thinking of and for using for?
So a lot of the technologies that we're dealing with, again, are analytics strategies. So when you think about all the data visualization tools, those are very, very valuable. And I always remind people that they're just tools. They're describing what full populations look like. So it's important to look at those tools along the way and also understand some fundamental statistics.
Oh, yeah.
So from as you go through things over the next year or so, understand those fundamental statistics and understand how they blend into what's produced from the software, because that's key to what we're doing. Okay. The other thing probably that we're trying to deal with is algorithms and modeling how people make judgments. We talked about those very complex situations. It's helpful to understand how people come to conclusions in those complex situations to help guide how we think. Not to produce conclusions for us, but help guide how we think. And those are very integral to how we're dealing with things now.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Now, I would ask Steve Fay if you would share your comments on the impact of technology and analytics on future accounting profession. That would be great.
Okay, thanks. Can you everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I guess I just want to echo what Dan said. That, the use of analytics is going to become the way of the world as you execute audits. I think about how we executed audits many, many years ago when I was a young staff accountant, and it was lots of detail testing, statistical selections, and looking at items in isolation. As we now have the opportunity to use technology to assess and use data, and in particular the big data that Dan talked about, we have the ability to design our audit test. While we're seeking the same end goals, we can really focus on those risks. And we can design our test to get higher levels of assurance about the populations of total and do it in a much more effective and efficient manner than we did through statistically sampling through and looking at a pile of invoices. Now, to do that, it's going to be really important because to do that, you're really going to have a good understanding of how transactions flow through an accounting system. So I can't underestimate how important it is for you as you begin your career in the master's program and you're thinking about what you're doing in work, about how making sure that you understand the end-to-end flow of a transaction through a system. I think that's really, really important because that will help you understand how you're going to design that audit test, how you're going to use your data tools, your analytic tools to do the things that Dan talked about. At a minimum, I think you all need to become high-end users of Excel. And I don't mean your ability to do a simple spreadsheet. I mean high-end users about how you can extract data, analyze data, and draw conclusions about populations as a total, as opposed to individual isolated transactions. Ideally, you might be able to go beyond Excel. Tools like Python. There's a ton of tools out there, and whatever firm you're going to will provide you some tools to do that. And I think about who's going to be the successful person in the future. And I think we're going to have three kinds of practitioners in our audit practices. I think we're going to have the old traditional guy who still likes to do the blocking and tackling the way we used to do it. And there's still going to be some need to do that. Dan talked about for some of the things that are simple to execute, there's going to be a need for some of that. There's going to be a need for people who understand how to use technology. And they really like working with technology, but they're probably not really into how audits are done. They just really like grinding out technology. And then I think you're going to have the third person who's going to be the successful person of the future, who's the person who's going to be able to marry together how you audit transactions, what the goals around those audit procedures are, understanding what technology can do, maybe not being the doer of it, but leveraging those who are doers in technology and marrying that audit approach to the use of technology to get better audit results around populations as a whole and to do it in a much more effective and efficient way. So I think it's a really exciting time for people just coming out of college to say, what I want to do is I want to be in that third bucket of people because that's who's going to make me successful at my accounting firm. And that's who's going to help drive the way of the future.
Yeah, that's great, Steve. And I hope these are really, really very useful tips for all of you who are going to start your master's degree and will start your career very, very soon. Now, I would request Tim Kelly. So, Tim just graduated last year and started his career. So, Tim, would you please share your experience, how you are facing the demand of technology and the skills that our students need to know, and how you are coping with all these new trainings and skills that you need to acquire to provide the best service to your firm. So would you please
Sure.
share your experience?
Sure. So everyone can hear me good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so in terms of kind of your first year at an accounting firm, there's obviously a lot of different software tools that are out there. Touching upon data analytics specifically, I think that is kind of the main focal point that I've seen, at least during my experience thus far. So I don't know in terms of what software will be provided. I know that there's a new concentration for data analytics, but I believe that that's probably something that you should definitely be taking some extra time kind of toying around with and going through during your fifth year. You're not, I would say that you kind of learn to roll with the punches. Obviously, you're going to come in with some basic understanding of Microsoft Excel, but you're going to be building your skills as you go along. You're going to be realizing some of the processes that are in your audit and how to improve upon them. So one of the things that my team has been focusing on, especially more over the past month as we've had a little bit of downtime, turning into the next fiscal year audit, is working on some Alteryx workflows and trying to trim down some of the more administrative tasks that we have to do. And, whether that's getting data ready to go when it's, time for us to start performing our procedures later in the year, or what have it. There's a ton of different tools that all of the firms are going to be able to provide you. So if there's something that you're not too familiar with, you can kind of take time in your own schedule to really develop those skills and have them ready for if your team needs you to work on a certain workflow, or if you think of something on your own, you'll be able to really add value.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim. Yes, we will have a new concentration in accounting analytics, and we will have courses on tax analytics, audit analytics, and data visualization. And also, we will have a core course in our MSA program, which will focus on introductory analytics for all of our MSA students, no matter you select your concentration or not. So, hopefully, this will help to train our students to face the future job market. So thank you very much. And this was our first discussion topics. And I would invite our students, if you have any question to any speaker or any general question related to technology, analytics, or if you need to know any advice or tips, you can use the chat option to write down your question. So you are doing great with time, and I will move to our second discussion topics, a very, very important, timely topic. And this topic, in this topic, we'll focus on the impacts of COVID-19 on CPA firms and the hirings. Because of this pandemic, we are going to face an economic downturn. So being in this profession, we really need to know what would be the impact on this accounting profession. And at this stage, I will again invite Dan if you would like to share your thoughts on the impact of this pandemic on CPA firms.
Thanks again. Well, it's been an interesting time for all of us over the past 2 or 3 months. The one thing that still is in demand are audits. People still need audits to comply with what the rules and regs say in terms of registering a public company or having debt covenants you have to fulfill with banks and the like. So financial statements and audits of financial statements are not going away. We had a recession back in 2008, 2009, and there was some reaction by most of the firms back then to really cut back on hiring new folks into the profession. And what happened was there were a lot of problems that arose because of that. No longer did you have this apprenticeship profession where you had people learning and coming up. So by the time 2011 or 2012 rolled around, we didn't have enough people to run jobs. So the lesson that everybody in the profession learned is you do not cut off campus hiring in these types of situations. That's the last place you should cut because that impacts you from a recovery perspective along the way. So you should all feel secure that there is demand for you in the profession. I always look at the profession as recession proof to some degree because there's always a need for people who are skilled CPAs, be that from an audit perspective or be it from a tax perspective.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dan, for sharing your experience that you went through back in 2008. And it's good to know that there will be a demand even during a recession. So now I would request Angelo Lombardo if you would please share what you are thinking about the impact of COVID-19 on accounting firms.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to agree with Dan there. You know, audit and tax work isn't going to disappear because of an economic downturn. Companies are still going to need their financial statements and audits done for whether it be regulation purposes or bank covenants and things of that nature. Companies are still going to need their taxes done and whatnot. So I think maybe not fully recession proof, but I think our industry is pretty insulated to these kinds of downturns. I would say maybe on the consulting side of things, maybe the consultants get a little more nervous, but I would say even with this whole COVID-19 thing, a lot of firms on the consulting side come out with, you know, more services to offer, whether it be the Paycheck Protection Program and loan forgiveness assistance. I think is going to be the biggest thing by far right now. I know Bloom has set up all kinds of new resources. There's a COVID-19 resource center if you go on the website that just, you know, has all the federal legislation, state and local updates, industry specific stuff all in one place. So those are services we're offering for our clients. It definitely affects, you know, you got to, in order to best serve your clients, you're going to have to stay up on top of all this stuff. So I'm getting email blasts constantly all day long of every new development and every new law and everything that's getting passed. So you definitely have to stay on top of that stuff. As far as hiring goes, I think, you know, I'll just talk of my experience. I know that going forward, I believe it's been slowed down a little bit. We do have some new hires coming in mid-June, but I will say that that class is definitely much smaller than your average class that I've been seeing come through Bloom every 6 months or so since I've started working. But like Dan said, I don't think hiring is going to freeze or anything like that. I think the demand for accountants in general, auditors or tax people, is going to remain there.
Thank you very much, Angelo, and thank you for sharing your Bloom's experience. Yeah, it's natural that the hiring might slow down a little bit, but we all hope it's a temporary situation, and we always will have demand in core accounting area like audit, tax, even in consulting. Now I am requesting Paige, one of our panelists today. So Paige, would you please share your opinion that what would be the impact of these COVID-19 on your farm and what you have experienced so far?
Sure, yeah. So my experience so far, I mean, I've felt very fortunate during this whole thing. How lucky are we that we're in an industry where we were told to, you know, pack up our things on a Friday and can go back to work on Monday from home and not skip a beat. Being an audit, we still have audit deadlines. Those went off without a beat. It's definitely in a different, you know, scenario, different environment. This is my work environment now, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a lot more. It's, you know, you're getting used to your new normal and having to get used to, you know, making sure I still have time to take lunch, maybe go for a walk and still get that mental health break in. But as from a work perspective, it's really been business as usual. Zoom has become huge for my team. I'm sure it's with the rest of you. I probably have more FaceTime with my partner on my engagement now than I did in the office. So that's been interesting and definitely a new experience. I think we've all learned to go through this together, and we're really making it work as we can with our clients as well, making sure that they have everything they need because their audits are still going off. They don't have any extensions on their deadlines. So, working together in that sense. Yeah, and then as far as the hiring process, I can't really speak to full-time hires for Deloitte accurately, but as far as I'm involved a little bit with campus hiring for interns, and we're still doing that now. For Deloitte, we have the summer leadership program that we just did 2 weeks ago, I think, which was completely done virtually, which usually is not done that way, but that's how we did it this year. So we're still going through the campus hiring process, definitely a different process, but making it work how we can.
Yeah, thank you, Paige, and great to know that your firm will continue campus hiring process. Well, the format might be different. I know many of our students are doing virtual internship. Maybe there will be virtual leadership program. We have to be accused to with this new normal. Thank you very much, everyone, for all of your important tips, suggestions, and comments on the topic that how the accounting profession and accounting firms are going to face the economic downturn and the impacts of this pandemic. Now we are moving to our third topic, and it's very important topic, especially to all of our students, and they all are eager to know, and it's all about the CPA exam. Yes, this is the CPA, and that should be all of our students' priority at this moment. So for this CPA exam discussion, we have two topics. First, we'll try to understand a little bit the CPA exam is changing and what would be the future scenario or exam type in a couple of years. And then later we will hear some suggestions from our MSA alumni how our current incoming students can make their CPA plan. So let's learn about the changes in CPA exam. And at this stage, I would invite Greg Cushion from Baker CPA. Greg, would you please share your opinion how the CPA exam is changing and any thoughts about your experience when you are dealing with CPA materials and developing all those supports for our students?
Sure, thank you. So just a few things here I want to cover. The examiners are changing some of the topics that are going to be covered on the CPA exam. We haven't got it in a blueprint yet, so that's something we need to be paying attention to. There is going to be a period, and this happened in 2017 with the last set of changes. There is going to be a period where some of you are studying for a section of the CPA exam, an announcement will come out, and they'll let you know. They'll give you some time that the changes will be happening and when the exam changes are going to take place. So you'll have a notice on when these topics do change and are updated. I know there's a lot of discussion about data analytics and all that other kind of stuff. But as far as changes that have happened recently, one of the things with COVID-19, as bad as it's been, as unfortunate as it's been to have the testing centers closed, so if someone's trying to right now currently sit with Prometrics, they can't, or it's being pushed back or delayed. One of the positives that came out of this is that they have extended the testing windows. Instead of having testing months, all right, testing windows, it's continuous testing model now. So that's a benefit for you guys because originally you take a section, only take it once per testing window. So if the testing window was July and August, you would have to wait until October, so September would be a closed month, before you could actually sit for a part you just took. So let's say you took financial in July, you got your score back in August, and you said to yourself, well, I want to go ahead and try to sit for financial again. You're forced to wait until October, and you have 18 months to pass all 4 parts of these exam. So some students would find themselves in a situation where a part was falling off, and it was a pretty bad cycle. So this is a positive change. This is one of the nice changes that has come about, and it's been something that students have asked for a while. So you go to the ASCPA's website, and I'm going to tell you something else I recommend doing in a second here. But go to the ASCPA's website. They're going to let you know the projected dates or time range, date ranges for releasing your exam scores. So once you get those exam scores back, you find out you didn't pass. Hopefully you did, but if you find out you didn't pass, you'll be able to go ahead and reschedule as soon as possible. And being as soon as possible means that you have to find a seat at the Prometrics Testing Center. So a little bit of a tough time right now with all the state closures and the Prometrics Testing Centers being closed. I would highly recommend going to the ASCPA's website, NASBA's website, and Prometrics website. So those are the big three websites you want to go to. Bookmark those pages, sign up for their email updates. I could tell you something right now, and it changes tonight or tomorrow. So I think it's very important to get the information sent to you regularly, and make sure that if you are in the midst of testing, or if you are in the midst of planning on testing, that you check those websites weekly, if not daily, just for updates and changes that are going to be happening. That's my 2 cents on that. Beyond that, use the gift of time to your advantage. Really do have a little bit of extra study time, and they're pushing out NTSs. So if you have an NTS right now and it's scheduled to expire, they're going to extend it out. There also is a lot of leeway. So if someone's in a unique circumstance where something happens, if you contact them, they're probably going to give you a break on it. So I wouldn't stress out too much when preparing for this. Just focus on the studying. I tell students this all the time. Put the effort in, set aside that time per week. If you do that, you're going to be just fine. You got to stick to that study plan.
Thank you, Greg. So if you have any question, please feel free to write down your question in chat box, especially if you have any question about the CPA exam. Now I would request Steve Fay to talk about what would be the future CPA exam format and how our students should prepare themselves for it. So Steve?
Thanks. Certainly, as Greg indicated, we don't know exactly what the change in the format is going to be, but what we do know from what the AICPA has released to date, that there's going to be more of a trend to think about how analytics and some of those things are going to fit into, for example, BEC and FAR. So I think this really leverages on what our first topic is, which is thinking about the future of the world. And that's going to, I think, change a little bit about how you might study. Now, I think there's a couple of other things to think about. I think in one sense, what Greg talked about with the continuous testing window being a gift, which I think it is, I think you also have to be cautious that you don't allow it to become a crutch, or said another way to say, well, I know I can just go ahead and retake it right away again. So I'll kind of give it an okay effort for now, but maybe not my best effort. What I would tell you is, and you're going to hear more about this from the panelists on the next topic, but I can't help myself here. Getting the CPA exam is getting your union card, guys. It's something you need to do to be successful in the profession. And the sooner you get it, the better off you're going to be. What you're going to find is once you start working in the working world, your time demands are going to be more constrained, and your ability to find time to study is not going to be nearly as easy as it is today. You might find that hard to believe, but that's reality. So, I just can't stress how important it is for you over the course of this next year. And I know some of you will be working as well. But while you're taking the MSA, to really have that plan about how you're going to approach the exam, and set goals and make a plan for it. I got to tell you, you guys are all good students, or you wouldn't be in the MSA program. So anybody who's a good student in an MSA program can pass the exam, and just the focus on it is what is really, really important. I'd also, again, am focusing on what Greg said, is pay attention to where the AICPA is at relative to some of the underlying changes. Potentially what they've said so far is, like I indicated, is around BEC and analytics and transaction flow, but stay on top of that, because what you don't want to get caught in is, I'm in the middle of sitting for FAR and I didn't quite pass it, and I know 2 months from now it's going to change a lot, so half of the studying I did is kind of for naught, and I need to study a lot more on analytics than I did in the past. So really make sure you stay on top of what the upcoming changes are, as Greg indicated, and build that into the plan that you're going to get. And I know our next panelists are going to talk to you about how you do a plan, but I think those are really the important things. And I think what's really good about where the exam is going is it's trying to be fluid, and it's trying to stay focused on what the world of auditing is all about. So I think that will really help you keep your focus on how you think about big data analytics and how you use it when you're studying for the exam.
Thank you very much, Steve, for all of your useful comments. And those who don't know, Steve Fay is one of our adjunct professors, and he is currently teaching the International Accounting Concentration courses for our MSA students. So Steve really knows well our students, and these recommendations are really very useful. Now, I would request Professor Danny Penis if you would kindly tell us about the changes that is going to happen with CPA exam. Danny?
Well, just to follow up with Steve and Greg, the profession is becoming much more practice-based. So with that in mind, the AICPA and NASBA are coming up with this new road to licensure. And what they've developed is what they call core skills, which is basically going to be your accounting, audit, tax, and technology. That's your common core. And then you've got to choose a discipline, and that discipline is going to be accounting and audit, tax, and then the technology side. So you'll have to select one of those three. Now that goes into effect January 2024, which is not too far away from here now. Because when they say going into effect, you're basically talking December 31st, 2023. So a word to the wise is topics are going to get changed. They're going to get changed quickly. You want to try and pass this exam as soon as you possibly can. And as Steve so eloquently said there, you want to get your union card punched now and get on with it, because the field is constantly evolving. They also made reference to this in terms of the 2024 exam date, that they're cutting back in terms of the actual exam time. It's going down to 16 hours. So back in the day when Steve, Dan, and Barb and I took the exam, it was 2.5 days, and you couldn't pick and choose. You had to take the whole thing. So again, it's changing. It's dynamic. You're going to pick and choose whatever discipline. If you happen to choose that discipline for technology, you still have all the rights and privileges of being a CPA. So you could sign off on audits. You can take the tax track, still sign off on audits. So it's changing. Pass the exam. Take advantage of this MSA year to dovetail each of your studies to go directly into the CPA exam. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you very much, Danny. And it's really an important advice. Take your CPA exam as soon as you can. So you just heard from Professor Pennis, and you also heard from Professor Fay, and also from Greg, that it's evolving constantly. But the new format of the exam that the AICPA is thinking, but it will not occur overnight. So what Professor Pennis mentioned, that the new format will be in effect in 2024. So you should make your goal that you must need to pass all four parts of the CPA in next couple of years. Otherwise, it might be difficult to face completely a new format of your exam. So now it would be really useful to know from our recent MSA alumni how they actually prepared themselves for the CPA exam, and especially how they managed their time and took all those parts while they were doing their MSA. So at this stage, I would invite Tim Kelly. Tim, you just passed the CPA all four parts just a few months ago, and I know you passed three parts while you were doing your MSA. So would you please share your experience? What was your strategy, and any tips for our incoming students?
Sure. So I guess kind of the best way to start to kick this off is kind of breaking it off into two different parts. There's the planning of the CPA exams, and then there's also the strategy and kind of the day in, day out of what your studying should kind of look like. So to put it into perspective, I applied for my first notice to schedule around, I think like late July, and I heard back sometime in September, which is something that if I could go back and do it all again, I would have applied for my NTS, my first NTS actually like right now, late May, early June. This way you can get it at a more reasonable time. What the NTS allows you to do is it allows you to actually go onto Prometrics and pick a date that you want to take a specific exam. And I guess another little tidbit is to not select all 4 exams on one NTS, because then what you're essentially saying is that you are going to sit for all 4 CPA exams within a 6-month time window, which is very intense and pretty stressful. And I know in terms of how this Big Four and other CPA firms reimburse you for the NTS fees, they only do it for once per exam. So they'll reimburse 1 FAR session, 1 reg session, etc. And then in terms of, I guess, the strategy, I mean, I kind of tailored it more to my needs. So I'm not the type to wake up super early and start studying. I kind of wanted to get a few other things done and then kind of ease into it. So usually around 10 o'clock, Monday through Friday, I would start studying, and then I'd probably wrap my studying up around 6. Now, I was very fortunate. I didn't have to work while I was in the MSA. So obviously every single game plan is going to be a little bit different. But that's how I did it. And then I focused my MSA work on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. That's just what, that's how I was able to accomplish it. And then in terms of how I organized what exams I wanted to take first, I did the big exam, small exam, big exam, small exam strategy. So the 2 big exams, as I'm sure we know, are FAR and Reg, and then 2 of the smaller ones are Audit and DC. So I started with the Dragon, that is FAR. That one took about 3 months to study for, and then I took that in late December, towards the end of the testing window in December, so like December 9th or 10th, and I started studying for that right after Labor Day. So that was like 3 months. And then the last thing that I guess I could leave it off with is, I know that a common question that people get is, what state should I be applying for my CPA license? And this is something that I think is common for people that live and work in Connecticut, especially considering that there's the New York City offices that we commute to. And the advice that I could give is to apply for the license where your home office is. So my home office is Stamford, Connecticut. And although I spend a lot of time in New York City, I applied to be a CPA in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you very much, team. Now, I would request Paige to share your experience. Did you follow the same strategy, like big exam, small exam, or how did you start with which part?
Sure. So I did like a similar strategy, but a little bit flip-flop. I did easy, or not easy, small. I can't say an exam is easy. That's bad. Smaller exam, smaller, bigger. It was good in the sense that I kind of got to get my feet wet and with a smaller content exam. I think I started with BEC. But then I saved Reg for last, which definitely wasn't like the best choice for me, because I think, especially being that I am an audit professional, tax was not like my strongest suit. So like hindsight, I probably would have done Reg earlier in the timeline, I think Tim's example of doing a bigger exam, smaller, bigger, smaller, is also a good strategy. I will say though that there isn't any right order to do the exams in. It's going to be whatever works for you. You're going to see that everyone's doing it differently probably. And I think that was like the one piece of advice that I wanted to give is like finding a method that works for you. Because for me, I used Becker, and watching the lectures and listening to the lectures didn't help me at all. But reading the book front to back, taking notes, all that kind of stuff is what really helped me. But vice versa, like some of my friends were the complete opposite. So it's finding what works for you. Don't let so many people get into your head of like, oh, this is the right way to do it, because everybody is different and everyone's going to learn different. My strategy while doing the MSA, I started the exams. So I did a summer internship at Deloitte before starting the MSA program. So then I started the application process after that. I think also echoing Tim's point of starting the application process a little bit earlier, I would agree with, because that first application process does take about 6 weeks. And then, so I started those after the summer internship and once starting the MSA program. When I did the MSA, I was still playing lacrosse at Sacred Heart. So for any of the student athletes out there, you would find this helpful. So I had certain hours of the day that were dedicated to lacrosse, and then the rest of my day, I would act like, oh, okay, I have lacrosse from 9 to 12, and then from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., I'm going to class, and I'm going to go sit in the business building and study, and that's like my class time. Getting myself out of my house, making sure I'm going somewhere else and dedicating that time is something that really helps me. My other bit of advice, and I mean, I'm not someone that's going to tell you how to pass all exams first try, because that wasn't my experience. I won't tell you how many exams I did take. But sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, Paige, you are right. Different students have different like, strategy, right? Yeah.
But I completely lost my train of thought.
It's totally fine. It's end of the day, and I guess you also worked all day. Yeah, so you see, everyone, different students have different learning strategies. Some feel more comfortable, like watching video lectures. I know some students, they still prefer like the print textbook and marking the book, highlighting, taking notes. Some students prefer to start with an relatively small part or difficult part. So definitely you have to think of it, what strategy would be suitable for you. But you all need to be very, very devoted. And that should be your plan. And you must be determined. Other than that, it would be hard for you to pass the exam. It's not an easy exam, right? So now at this stage, I will just go over some questions we already have. So one of our incoming students, Victoria Delphia, she is asking, were the MSA classes helpful in studying for the exams? So Tim or any of you could answer the question.
So I think I'm like 2 years removed from taking these exams now, but I believe Bloom will reimburse you for all CPA related costs. So the exam prices and the NTS. Actually, so to correct myself, what Bloom does is they give you a CPA bank where you have $1,200 to use for CPA fees as you see fit. And when that 1,200 is up, then you're on your own, basically.
Yeah, so yeah, Angela, you addressed the other question, that the reimbursement. Yeah, so I just would like to address the question. Yes, MSA is designed, it's not only for the CPA, also to train like the regular accountant who will go for private firms or for other corporate jobs. And definitely along with the MSA courses, you will have the Baker CPA prep. And what Angelo just mentioned, that Bloom's actually reimbursed, and I know most of the big four firms will also reimburse. And Greg is here. Greg, would you have any idea about the CPA reimbursement?
Yes, so that's great. Each firm does it a little differently. If anyone here is going to a big four firm, you don't have any other choice. You're getting Becker. And I want to say a few things because the school is the program right now. The MSA program is fantastically designed, and they're really working to have you take the review CPA exam while you're in the master's program. And many firms want that. There's nothing better than going to your respective firm and already having passed either all four parts, even if you. All right. So if you currently have an offer from a firm, all right, or if you expect an offer from a firm, please let the department know because they're planning on having everyone in the MSA program have access to the Becker review. Okay. So it's very important that you get that if you have an offer letter, especially from a big four firm, that you can call Becker right then and there and you can order the materials. Okay. But please let the department know so we can go ahead and take a head count. For those of you going to other firms like Bloom or some of the other ones, if you need assistance, I know Bloom provides the $1,200 test bank. If for some reason you go to try to find Becker and it's a few $100s more, whatever, give me a call. We will see what we can do to help you out. It's something we've been trying to work with Bloom with for a while. They're being kind of stubborn, but we're trying to put something in place to alleviate that particular problem. And then if you're at any of the other firms, RSM, McGladrey, or Grant Thornton. Okay, there we go. Some of those, they give you the option to choose Becker too, paid in full. So you're going to want to definitely get on that ASAP because it's very important. And I can't stress enough how important it is to do the review alongside of the master's program. Okay, it's just I've been at this for a long time. I've been at Becker for 10 years. Okay, been a long time working with Sacred Heart for a long time, and it's just the most successful way to get through everything is going to be to do this while you have the best chance. Everything's fresh in your head. You're taking courses that are going to be reinforcing what you're studying for. So my personal opinion, and again, I know that there's other people out there who have probably similar or maybe varying opinions, but if you wait to take the CPA exam while you're at a firm, while you're working full time, the challenge, the difficulty goes up at least twofold. Okay. And really, if you have a lot of other things going on in your life, marriage, kids, whatever, that's going to happen, it's going to make it even more difficult. So take advantage of the fact that the school is willing to put together a program that's designed to work with the review course. And it's a beautiful thing. And you guys should feel, I know I'm very happy about it, but it's definitely something you should go lucky about because the school supports it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Greg. Yeah, so if you have an offer and you see that your employer is reimbursing your Baker course, definitely you should take that opportunity. And those who don't have any offer yet, or your employer will not support you, please don't worry because our program will support you and will provide you the Baker CPA course. And now I'd like to ask Tim and Paige. So did your firm reimburse your NTS fees? That's one of the questions we see.
Yeah, so for Deloitte, they reimburse you for the 4 exams that you pass. NTS fees, I think there's something else in there too. But yeah, they reimburse you for the 4 exams that you pass and then obviously the Becker materials.
Okay, great. Tim, how about Deloitte?
I work at PwC, but
I'm sorry, I apologize.
no, it's okay.
PwC.
Yeah, so it's a similar process for PwC. I don't know if it's in terms of, I thought it was just each exam that you take for the first attempt, whether it was pass or fail. However, one thing that I do know is that you should definitely keep hold of the receipts that you get back from Prometrics, NASBA, wherever have it, because when it comes time, because I mean, I think when I applied for my first one, right, it was like late June, and when I put in the receipt, during my first week or two at PwC, it was like almost like a year later. So it's obviously easy to lose track of these receipts. So I would just create a separate email folder in my email and keep those receipts tucked away so that when it's time to get reimbursed by the firms, you have them ready to go. If you don't have the receipt, they're simply not going to reimburse you because there's no proof, right? And the last thing you want to do is be held with $1,000 worth. Yes, that is right, $1,000 worth in exam fees just because you aren't organized. So that's kind of, I guess, like a little extra tidbit that's helpful, especially right now.
Okay, great, Tim. So we are almost end of our discussion, but I still have Angelo Lombardo. So Angelo will share his CPA taking experience. So Angelo, it's your turn.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm about like 2 years removed, but so I had the privilege of basically just extending my college career for a year and doing a fifth year and just living at home with my parents and treating it like a full-time job. So between the MSA and the CPA studying, I was doing that about 40 hours a week, give or take. And that's just what I did. I kind of tried to stay on track with the MSA. I know, at least when I did it, they kind of gave you a timeline of what exams to take to kind of fall in line with your courses you're taking at the time. And I see Victoria asked if the MSA classes were helpful, which I missed that earlier when I answered your question. I do think that they were helpful doing that on top of your CPA exam studying. And then a CPA exam studying, I think, helps you with your course too at the end of the day. So, they kind of piggyback off one another. I took reg for my first exam, got a 73, and that kind of put a damper on me for a little while. So after that, I think I didn't even study for like a month or two because I was pretty angry about the whole thing. And then I ended up passing BC and audit by the time I started working full time the following fall. So I had 2 done before working full time. And then once I started working full time, like Greg said, that definitely raises the difficulty level because now you're working 40 hours a week and then you have to find the time to study, which is not fun at all. And I mean, even to, multiply the difficultness, I would say, and I bet Paige would probably agree with me on this. You want to get them done before you step into a senior role. Because once you step into the senior role, your responsibilities like multiply by 6. So you want to get it done. If you don't have them done by the time you start full time, you want to get them done within that first year and a half, 2 years before you go looking for a promotion, definitely. And then I know most firms, you're not able to go past the senior role if you don't have your CPA. So that's another thing that should light a fire under you if you want to advance. It's just something you have to do. I think a lot of it comes down to how badly you really want it. I find the people who have the hardest time passing, those who I work with, are the ones who can't say no to a happy hour or don't know when to leave the happy hour and things like that. That's really it. I mean, you just got to really want it. I did it the complete opposite. I passed, like I said, I passed BEC and audit first, which are the smaller exams, quote unquote. Which I wouldn't recommend doing that. My personal recommendation would be do FAR or reg first, get the next one done, and then do the smaller ones. And I actually put myself into a hole where the last one I had was reg. If I didn't pass it my last time, I was going to lose. The last time I took it, if I didn't pass it, I was going to lose BC and have to take that exam again. So don't put yourself under the gun like that. Just don't let it happen. as soon as you pass that first one, you should be gunning to get them all done as quickly as possible.
And I just quickly want to add one more thing in terms of, I guess, why you should be getting the CPA exams done before you start. There's actually, the firms have a financial incentive to complete them in a timely manner. So I could speak on behalf of PwC, but if you finish all four before you start at the firm or within 1 year, you get a $6,000 bonus. That was something that I was able to get. So that was definitely nice to see that direct deposit hit the bank account. And then from there, I think if it's between 1 to 2 years, it's like $3,000. And then anything after that, it's like $1,000. So there's still incentive, right, to get it done as early as you can. And that should be a goal, right, while you are in your grad program. Definitely try and get as much done as you can while you're at Sacred Heart.
Yeah, it's great to know. Thank you, Tim. So, did Paige or Angela, you also receive bonus when you passed your CPA?
Bloom doesn't give you, well, Bloom sends you a bottle of champagne when you pass your CPA exam, so that's pretty cool. They don't, so I don't believe I got a bonus for passing, but I did get a bonus, sort of a bonus, sort of a loan. I'll explain that. But when I first started having my 150 credits already, just having done the MSA program, I got a $5,000. I guess it'd be more of an advance if you leave if you leave within 3 years, you have to pay back a prorated portion of that. So I think it's also sort of a loan to kind of try and help you with your CPA studies on top of the CPA bank that they give you.
Yeah. Paige, how about you?
Yeah, so what Deloitte does is something similar to PwC. If you pass the exam within your first year, you receive a $5,000 bonus, or if you do it within your second year at the firm, it's a $3,000 bonus. I was in the latter group. I passed the exams in my second year at the firm, so I did get a $3,000 bonus, which was awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing all of your experience and all of my incoming students. So you see, you have several incentives to work hard, to be determined and devote your time and efforts. And we are almost end of the program. And I just have last one topic, and I would like to share the last slide just for your information purposes. And then we will end our discussions. And at any stage, again, you can email me or you can ask me the contact of one of the participants and panelists today. You can also send questions to them. I'll share the slides and I'll share their contact information with you too. Now at this stage, I just would like to show you one thing, that is that from your year, that means this incoming year, we actually realigned our courses and we redesigned the entire MSA structure. So if you see, once you will start in the fall, so your main focus will be on the far part. And you will see the courses are also aligned in the same way. So you have to take financial accounting course, advanced issues in financial accounting. You also will have an introductory accounting analytics course. These are all three core courses, and at the same time you will take the Baker prep course, and that will be your far part. So definitely you should start early, utilize your summer. I know many of you will be doing internship still while you are staying home. Start your far part or whatever the part you feel most comfortable with, and then you will at the same time will learn your all advanced level skills and knowledge from these MSA courses. Then try to make your plan, and it's up to you when you're gonna take the exam first part, or for say it's far part. And I will also share you a tentative CPA roadmap with you so that it will be useful for you to make your own plan. Then in the spring semester, we will focus on audit part. I'm trying, we are kind of following the big, small strategy here. We start with the hardest one, the biggest part. Then in the spring, we will focus on the audit part, and ideally, you should focus on your audit CPA prep, and you will also take the audit course and another core course, which is management accounting. And in the spring semester, I mean, before starting the spring, you have to declare your concentration. So we will have two concentration. One is the forensic accounting and another is the analytics. So sometime in the fall, you will let me know what will be your concentration, and your third course in the spring semester will be the concentration course. And then you have to do your late spring semester. Here you will focus on the reg part, and at the same time you will take the tax course, and you have another course, financial statement analysis. These two are core courses, and you will pick your second concentration course. So if you select analytics, then you will take the tax analytics. So this time will be dedicated for your reg or tax part. And then you will have a short summer semester only for 8 weeks. Here you will do a capstone course based on your concentration. So these are the course outlines, and these are the CPA plan we try to align so that it will help you to know all those advanced level knowledge and skills that you need to know. And at the same time, you will take the Baker Prep course, no matter you receive it from your employer or from this MSA program. That will also train you to take the exam effectively and efficiently. And then again, I'm sorry, I cannot change my slide when I am in full screen mode, but then I just want to share you with little information. Definitely, I'll send you an email that our orientation date is September 11, Friday, 5 p.m. Well, we are planning to do it in our guest house, which is really gorgeous, but we really don't know whether we will be able to do it like as in person or we have to do it virtually, because we'd expect about 50 to 60 guests. But you can mark your calendar, September 11, Friday, and your first day of class will be September 12. And all of you know our MSA program is in a hybrid format. Hybrid means it's partly online and partly face to face. You just need to come once a month, and that will be a Saturday. Of course, it will be a long day from 9 to 5 p.m. So you already know these are the fall Saturday classes that you have to be on campus. So it is giving you plenty of flexibility. Even you work full time or you commute or you stay home, it's only once a month, and the rest of the month will be your online classes. So you see it's 30 credits. You have to do 7 core courses and 3 concentration courses. That's your plan, but right now I would suggest you to start your CPA prep. I already sent you some materials, and we are also working on to offer a Baker CPA prep course. We are doing the partnership with Baker, and definitely I would encourage you, if you already received it through your employer, please don't wait anymore. Start working on your CPA prep. You still have about these 3 months that will be really very useful to prepare yourself for the exam. So that was all from us, and thank you very much for all of your patience, for all of your participation. We have about 30 plus students here. I would like to thank you, all of our panelists, for your dedication and for all of your kind support to our program. I know we couldn't do it, on ground or face to face, but nothing but I can just convey my heartfelt thanks to all of our panelists and all of our faculty. Thank you very much. And at any point, if you have any question, please email me, or I'll also share the panelist information. Thank you very much, and I would expect our continuous support from all of our panelists. And thanks again, Dan. Thanks again, Steve, Angelo, Paige, Tim, and Greg. And of course, Danny is one of us. Thank you.
You did a great job, Nafuja.
Thank you, Danny, for your time. And thank you, Barbara, too.
Yeah, thank you. Great job, everybody. We're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Paige. Keep in touch. Stop.
Bye. Good to see everybody.